What's up, guys? It is Rob Anderson with DollarMoves. I would like to welcome you to another video. So I just got off the phone with somebody, and it was one of those conversations where I wish it would have been recorded, because I was like, we were riffing back and forth, and it was just really good. It was one of those conversations where you come away from it and you feel like both people have been elevated from whatever level that they were at in the beginning, and both people learned something and got something from it, and it was super good. But what it was, first off, I know that we all have those situations, no matter how good our life is, where there are times where we have worry or anxiety or fear about what's going on, whether it's a big deal we're working on, or, am I going to be able to pay the bills? Or, at the very base, it's like, can I afford this meal, I guess, or something, right? Like, everybody has all different kinds of financial issues and financial things that they're going through, even at the higher level. Like, I was just at Dean Graziosi's The Edge, and he was like, even when you're making the higher amounts of money, it's like you still have anxiety and things like that, because you don't have, now you've just got, instead of having like $500 problems, now you've got $100,000 problems, or these bigger problems. So they're like, the stress is still there. It's just at a bigger scale. So don't think that people that have money don't have stress, because, that's not true. Everybody is human, and we all tend to have times where we are just down in our energy, and we just, can let the negative stuff start to seep in. And so I was talking with somebody, and what was really cool, this person is someone that I'm very close with, and so there was no issue with, when I talk to you about this, I don't want you to think like, oh, that was really that was harsh to be like that, because it wasn't. It was one of those things where there's good back and forth. We understand that when we talk, it's not to hurt each other, and it's just to help each other. And so they were talking about how they had been having a little bit of an issue with like stress and fear and these different things. And, but they had a feeling, they knew that things were going to be good and okay, but they were just kind of had been in that mode, and they had shared that with me. And so I was able to share with them that, that's totally normal, and I get it, because I get that way too. We all do. We're all human, And I talked to him about a thing that I like to think of, like, for myself, when I get in that mode, and I think this can help you, is that when I start to catch myself being in that mode of fear, or being in that mode of anxiety or depression, or the what ifs, like what's going to happen in life, and I realize like I'm putting all this energy towards that, right? Like, well, first off, I know that, like, we had talked about how when you're in a problem, whatever your problem is, if you look at your problems in your past, like when you're in that problem, it is the biggest thing in your life. It consumes you. Like, that problem is so important. Think about a problem you had 5 years ago, and it was super, like, it really consumed your whole being. And think about it now. Is it that big of a deal now? Like, a lot of times those things that were such a big problem in the past are now something that's really not a big deal. And you look at it, and oftentimes it's a learning opportunity, honestly, which is totally crazy. But, so that's one of the things I was thinking about. And then also, I was talking to him about how when I start to feel that way, I start to get these feelings. I get caught up in that thing, and that thinking, that, like, Zig Ziglar said, that stinkin thinking, right? That going down a rabbit hole that you don't want to be down, right? For me, I like to catch myself when I'm in those moments and go, is this really the best use of my energy? Because honestly, I get a little upset with myself when I start, especially when I start going way out there, down the rabbit hole, down these bad ways of what if, and all this stuff. Because I realize that energy is energy, and we're going to use the same amount, not the same amount, but that energy can be used for good or for bad, right? And I can either take that energy and use it all for nervous, like, what if thinking and all this bad catastrophic stuff, or I can use the energy and go, okay, let's look at my situation. What's going on here? What have I got? What are all the things that are going on? And look at it all together. Take away the fear, like put it out in front of me, because you take away that ignorance. Like a lot of times we try to stuff those ideas, right? But if you look at it, lay it out all on the table. What's everything that's going on? okay, what can happen here? What can happen here? And just go, so what can I do now positively to influence this situation in a positive way? Instead of sitting there in fear, you know, that what do they say? Like they don't make statues of afraid people or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, instead of sitting there being afraid and just like crossing your fingers that something happens, it's like, what kind of actions can I take with this same energy to go forward and to like propel myself forward and to make this situation better, instead of just sitting there in fear and creating this monster in your head that's so much bigger than oftentimes than the whole deal that you're working on is, right? And so another thing too is that we talked a little bit about how, so try and take that energy and use it towards good. That was my point on that one. But the other thing is, you know, when I'm in that mode as well, and I think that this is something that can work for everybody, is to go, so if all the worst things that I'm imagining right now, if they did happen, what's the worst that could happen? Like, if all this stuff I'm thinking about, and you can put that in whatever issues you've got going on right now or whatever, if you catch yourself in this, is some great actionable steps. Just go, what's the worst that could totally happen? If all the bad stuff I'm talking about happened, what's the worst that could happen? You know, a lot of times we're not thinking about death. I mean, if you're someone who's sick or whatever, you know, that could be the ultimate thing if you have an illness like that. But, you know, for most people, they're not worried about that stuff. They're worrying about, like, you know, money stuff or whatever, relationship stuff, you know, and it's like, what's the worst? Like, when you go down that worry hole, what's the worst thing that could happen, right? And so I like to think about that and then go, okay, well, a lot of times if it's financial, right, you're just like, okay, what's the worst that could happen? I could lose my house. I could lose everything, right? I could lose everything. But you know what? Losing everything doesn't kill you, and you can always start up again. Like, how many people have you seen out there that have lost it all and started up again? Like, I would say a huge percentage of the people that are highly successful have lost it all and started again. So that shouldn't be something to where it's like that cripples you, because if you did lose it all, what would be the worst thing? You know what I mean? And quite honestly, I want you to think about this, because you might be going, yeah, well, I don't want to lose it all. I like all my stuff. You know, this is my stuff. I don't want, you know, everything I built up. Nobody wants to lose it all. My whole point is that now think about how many times you've had all of these thoughts where they're going way down a rabbit hole, and like, you could lose it. How many times have you lost everything? You know what I mean? Like that's your worst fear if that was to happen. How many times in your life has your worst fear, when you've taken positive action and tried to do something and not just allowed other people's ideas to dictate what happens in your life, but when you've gone forward and because we're talking about that. I'm talking about people out here that's listening to Dollar Moves who's like, this is what I want to do. This is my goals. These are the things I want to do, and I'm going forward for it. That kind of anxiety, because you're pushing out of your comfort zone. Those kind of people. How many times have you actually lost everything? I would bet that most of you have not lost everything. And most of the time, when you're thinking in these ways and you're way out there and you're thinking, the worst stuff hasn't happened. And more than likely, a lot of the little beginning stuff where the rabbit hole starts hasn't even happened. So anyway, I felt inspired to make this video for you. You know, I had that conversation with him, and I thought there were some really powerful ideas in that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what you saw, please go ahead and thumbs up, positive comments down below. I'd love to hear down below, you know, do you like these kind of videos? Would you like something like this? Because I felt just really inspired to get on here and talk with you guys. Also, if you do like it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. You can also go to DollarMoves.com, sign up for the email newsletter, and I'll contact you anytime I put out any new videos, or if I come across something that I think can benefit you. So again, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't use that energy for the negative stuff. You know, catch yourself when you're getting in the middle of it. What can I do here? And move forward, man. You guys have a great day out there, and keep rocking and rolling, and I will talk with you soon. All right, guys, take care.